beauties and cuties, and welcome back to my channel. Forgive me if you see me looking down at my phone. I'm looking down at my phone. I have some statistics for this video that I want to give you guys. The topic that I am going to talk about today is a little touchy for me because of my past. Today I am going to talk about domestic violence. I read you the textbook definition of what they have. Domestic violence is a pattern of behavior used to establish power and control over another person through fear and intimidation, often including the threats or use of violence. As I'm going to talk about the male on female violence, but I just want to give you a statistic that deals with female on male violence. How many men are domestic violence victims? Men are victims of nearly 3 million physical assaults in the U.S. But we're going to talk about female domestic violence. 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime. If you place you, your mother, your grandmother, and your daughter together, 1 out of 4 of them will experience domestic violence. Now, I've dealt with every type of domestic violence there is. Physical, verbal, mental, emotional, sexual, all those types of domestic violence I have personally dealt with in the course of my life. Sexual, I was violated when I was 7 years old, and that has carried over with me throughout my entire life. That's something that you never fully get over or ever get over. You always are looking over your shoulder. You always are wondering if it's going to happen again. Me personally, I did not know my attacker, so the fear, which I know because of the age bracket the person was that sexually assaulted me, they're probably 6 feet under right about now, but it's still that unknown factor of not knowing who this person was, and the fear that that person knows you, and that it could happen again with that person. So I constantly have that fear. In one of my relationships, I was actually 2 of my relationships, I was sexually assaulted. Guys or girls, when you say no, no is no, regardless of whether you're dating the person or not. And when that no turns into being pinned down and that person forcing that stuff on you, then that's a sexual assault. So I've dealt with it with people that I've known and person that I did not know. Physical violence, domestic violence, is probably the one that you hear a lot about. I decided to talk about it because now it has, I know my grandmother had to deal with domestic violence. I know my mother had to deal with domestic violence. I myself dealt with domestic violence, and now domestic violence has touched my child. And it's a bad feeling when you have to go through it, but being a mother and a parent, seeing your child go through it is another blow. Guys, if you haven't had the proper male role model in your life to teach you the right and the wrong way to treat a woman, then the thing I could say, now if you love your mom, if you love your mom, this is how I can tell you, this is how you're supposed to treat a woman. Treat your woman the way you want another man to treat your mother or your sister or your daughter. Don't do anything to that woman that you wouldn't want a man, another man to do to your mother, your daughter, or your sister. So I talk to my children a lot. My biological son and daughter, when they were small, growing up in the house, we used to have family talk times, and I would pile them up in the middle of the bed, and we would talk, and we would talk about the birds and the bees, and I would tell my son the way to treat a woman, and I would tell my daughter what she wanted to look for in a man, and you know, all these powerful things. So it's not a fact about whether or not parents are educating their daughters and their son on domestic violence, or how to treat a woman, or how to treat a woman, or how a woman should be treated. It's all about the man and the woman. Men feel like, some men that I feel like men that do this are cowards. They can't beat a man, so they in turn turn their anger and frustration out on a woman, and because the woman loves the man, or think that that's what love looks like, they deal with it. But this is what I told my daughter in the beginning of her relationship. If he calls you out of your name once, he's going to do it another time. Even if he says that he's sorry, he didn't mean to, it's going to happen again. If he shoves you, the shove is going to turn into a push. The push is going to turn into a slap. The slap is going to turn into a punch. The punch is going to turn into other types of weapons, knives, gun, and either you or him going to be 6 feet under, or both. So I know you say, I love him, he's my soulmate, I'm not gonna find another one like him. I hope not. But he's not your soulmate if he puts his hands on you. And there's more than one fish in the sea. I know that's an old cliche, but it's one that's been around for generations, and it's true. So if domestic violence is happening to you, report it, because most domestic violence are not reported. I think out of all the ones that I had done to me, one of the physical abuse people was reported, and of course when I was 7 it was reported, which if it was left up to me it wouldn't have been, because being 7 years old and someone tell you that I know where you live, I'm going to kill your mommy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you as a 7-year-old don't know how to process it. Or being grown up in a household where your mother always told you listen to your elders or respect your elders, and you believe what they say, then you don't want anyone to know. But that one left a scar on me that will last forever as well. So I would say, ladies, cry to get over him and not cry to be with him. Yes, relationships are tough. I'll be the first to say, I truly believe that my husband of 10 years now is my soulmate. I do believe that he would never put his hand on me. Before he puts his hand on me, he would leave. And I was the one that was the aggressor. When we first started dating, the slightest bit of I'm not going to say arguing, I'm going to say intense discussions, the first sign of an intense discussion from being in so many abusive relationships, I would go to hitting first. And you know, my husband would never put his hands on me. He would always say, I am not those people, I would never do this to you. And it took him constantly being a real man. It took me a minute to realize that I had a good one, and that my husband is a man that says what he means and means what he says. And so I know for a fact that if it ever comes to a physical or where he wants to put his hand on me, he will leave. And so I thank God for that. I thank God that I am finally in a relationship where I can feel secure. And ladies, that's what you want. You want someone that's going to treat you right. Are all the days going to be lovely? No, they're not. But you shouldn't have a day where you have to fight, or that someone is putting a knife to you or a gun to you, your head, or anything to that nature. You shouldn't have to deal with that. That is not what God put you here on earth for. And believe me, there is a man out there for you. And yes, I went through a lot of bad apples to get to my peach. And I would have to say, this is going to sound crazy, but I am glad that I went through the bad, because I know what bad looks like, and now I know what good looks like. And so I just can't stress it enough, ladies. If he does it once, he's going to do it again. I will tell you about a physical abuse relationship. So I was dating this guy named Chris, and Chris was a Marine, and when we started dating, he got out of the service, and we continued our relationship together. I was just graduating college, so my professional career was just starting to take off. I got hired with Department of Corrections, and I was relocating to Raleigh, North Carolina. So of course, because Chris and I was still dating, he moved to Raleigh with me, and I was alone. I didn't have family there. I didn't have friends there. I didn't even have a place to live there when I first moved to Raleigh. I was actually living in a boarding room. It's somebody's house where they rent out each one of their rooms. Chris moved into the boarding house with me, and I think I was trying to go to sleep because I had to go to work. And with a boarding room, it was just one room. And so Chris wanted to watch TV. and I kept asking him if he would turn the TV off because I had to go to work. And he started cursing and calling me out my name, and I mean, he would never have done this if I was home, because he knew what type of family I had. Well, I closed my eyes and I was still talking, and when I opened my eyes, he punched me. And I mean, he punched me so hard too. I mean, I heard ringing in my ears. And I didn't cry. I was more shocked than anything. I got up off the bed. I went outside. I stood there, and I think I let a few tears drop by myself outside. And because it hurt me, I never thought that he would put his hands on me, because he knew what I had been through in the past. Well, I composed myself. I went back in, and I got back on the bed. I laid down, and I said, if you want to live, I think you need to leave. Because if you lay your head down on the pillow, you won't wake back up. And I laid my head on the pillow, and I heard him gathering his stuff up, because he knew the threat was real. And so he left, and of course a month or so went by. I had moved in my new house, and I let him come back in, and it happened again. But this time it was more of a fight, because my daughter was there. The point I wanted to make is that when I was home, when I lived at home, in my hometown, he would never have put his hand on me because of family ties, and my family is they're crazy. And but I think because I dealt with physical abuse before that, I am grateful to God that I was able to pull myself up by my bootstraps. And the gentleman I dated after him was pretty much like my husband is now. Well, it is like my husband. So I did have another good apple before my husband. Had a couple of bad ones in between him and my husband, but all wells that ends well. But ladies, a lot of people, a lot of women are not able to sit here and make a video like I am, because they're dead, or they're in prison, or because they felt like he wasn't going to do this again. And the sad thing about it is they can't sit here because he did do it again, or she did do it again. And this is not, this is a message to women, but it's a message to men too. Don't stay in an abusive relationship with a woman. Don't stay in an abusive relationship regardless of what your sexual orientation is. No one should have to suffer the hands of another. In your adult life, you shouldn't have to deal with, or not just an adult, in your dating life, in your marriage life, you should never have to deal with abuse. And I've been trying to make this video, and I sugarcoated it, but I wanted to come and do this. I know it's not a short video, but ladies, if you need help, I'm quite sure that there is a domestic violence hotline that you can call. If you know that of someone that is in a domestic violence relationship and can't or won't report it on their own, If you know of this, then I feel like if you do nothing, you're just as worse as the person that is abusing that person, because God had you to find out about this person abuse, so maybe you can step in and do something about it. Will the person probably be mad at you for a while? Yes, they probably will be, but they'll be alive. So if you need help, there's a 800 number, 1-800-621-HOPE, 1-800-621-HOPE. So there is a lot of good information up. I just gave you guys some statistics on domestic violence. I just told you of my experience and what I went through with domestic violence. I also told you that my daughter was just recently a victim of domestic violence. Her husband kidnapped her 2-year-old child and also tried to kill her, left several marks around her neck and on her hand from when he tried to cut her with a knife. Thank be to God that the knife wasn't sharp enough to cause permanent damage to her physically, but emotionally it has caused so much. But ladies, I just wanted you to know that even though I started this video off and I also showed you what domestic violence can look like if you allow it to go there. No, I have not been a victim of domestic violence recently. So unlike a real domestic violence case, I can wipe this off because it's only makeup. But ladies or gentlemen, if you're in a real domestic violence situation, the bruises that you will sustain physically will not be able to wipe off. The emotional scars, I can tell you from personal experience, it lasts a lifetime. I still suffer the effects of being abused. So don't allow yourself to be in a situation where you can't just wipe off what has happened to you. Like this makeup is hard to take off. The scars that you will sustain physically and emotionally will be just as hard to remove. So don't be a victim. If you know someone that's being abused, report it. Domestic violence takes a life. All too much. 9 times out of 10, a person that is killed from someone that's close to them and they were in an intimate relationship with. Don't be a statistic. Fight back. Get out of that situation. This is Simply Beautiful, signing off with another episode. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, like, and share. But most of all, share. Until next time, my beauties and cuties, stay that way, my beauties and cuties, not black and blue.